Everybody. Morning. It's great to have the opportunity to talk to you this morning about this, navigating new literacies with UCC Libraries Digital and Information Literacy Framework. And I'm going to do so as follows. I'm going to give a little bit of background, context about what we do currently in UCC Library to support learning, I suppose information literacy really. It'll be similar to what a lot of you are doing, but I'm always interested to hear what other people are doing anyway. So we'll go through that bit. Then I'll introduce and I'll outline our new framework. When I say new, it's actually 12 months now since we launched it. So I still think of it as new. If you were at the Connell Teaching and Learning seminar recently, you may have heard my colleague Ben talking about it, but through the lens of lifelong learning. So this is a bit different, my presentation. Then I'll talk a little bit about how we're operationalizing it with our 3-year action plan and a bit on next steps and what the future directions might be. If you want to have a quick scan there so you can have a look at the framework, please do. Just give you a few seconds to do that. It's just literally the framework on our website, so you'll find it anyway. Okay, so these are the things we currently do in UCC Library. Probably quite similar to what many of you are doing in your libraries too. So my team is the Learning and Teaching team. I'm the team lead. It's a small, relatively new team in its current guise. We've 2 learning and teaching librarians and a learning support librarian. We also have the Mercy Hospital librarian on our team, and we have a student partner embedded within the team now too. So I suppose like many of you, I suppose the main bread and butter of what we do are the embedded sessions we do at the request of our academic colleagues. We go out to the 4 colleges and do them anywhere, wherever they're supposed to be on within, particular course modules. Typically, they are tailored, but typically literature search, referencing software, and increasingly kind of systematic review support as well. Open sessions, we run them throughout the year. So there's a number of teams in the library run those. My team run the study and assignment essentials. So it's essentially the same topics we cover really in our embedded sessions with some extra ones like our Gen AI session, we have a Lego session and so on. Colleagues in the research services team in the library do the research essentials series, and we have a digital scholarship studio in the library as well. So that's a facility in the library where we have kind of specialist software and hardware for video and audio, creating and editing, 3D printing, kind of maker space, a library studio, podcast studio, and so on. So and importantly, staff working there to support people. So they run a series of workshops too. So the 3 series are quite complementary, I would say. They work well together. Our one, we probably ran about 65 of them over the course of the year this year. So we're really trying to throw them out there and see what works and how we can optimize it. We have a PG module that we run. It's been around for years, really, but we've kind of revamped it in the last couple of years in line with our new framework. And we're seeing good numbers, 70 to 80 PhD students finishing each year for the last 2-3 years. Obviously, we have asynchronous content as well. So we have a few self-paced, self-directed courses there. And just only in the last year and a half, we started kind of a one-to-one appointment service and a regular drop-in service in the main library, the Boole, and in Brookfield as well. And that's our learning support librarian who runs those with the student partner as well. Typical queries there around systematic reviews. Okay, so that's the main graphic from our framework. I suppose with so many different teams in the library involved in teaching in some way, we wanted it to be comprehensive. So we wanted it to reflect all the teaching that we're doing across the library teams. We also wanted it to accommodate all literacies. So we didn't want to get too kind of bogged down on whether something is information literacy, digital, media, AI literacy. To me, they all come under the information literacy umbrella. Okay, so we took that approach. It's a living document, so the next iteration shouldn't be too far off, hopefully. It is influenced by meta-literacy and a critical information literacy approach. So meta-literacy, as many of you know, right, that's a unified model of information literacy, which looks at learning, or I suppose information behavior, really, through those 4 domains: the behavioral, which is what we do, the skills; cognitive, how we think; affective, how we feel; and the metacognitive bit there, most important, the critical thinking and self-reflection, which is kind of influencing our approach to things. Hard to introduce it into one-shot sessions, of course. So the graphic there, again, similar to Anne, we kind of looked at all the different models that were out there, the different frameworks. And we ended up with this, particularly influenced by Virginia Tech's one. So I had a lot of conversations with Julia Fearer there when we were creating this. So we have the learner at the center, and then 7 overlapping, interconnected elements, we call them, and then 4 overarching values. And the values apply to all the 7 elements, but they're also kind of habits of mind, habits of thinking, I suppose, that we seek to kind of cultivate in our learners. So a little bit more detail there. Discovery, as you'd imagine, is everything about search, all its different guises, whether using library resources, systematic reviews, Gen AI prompting, covered there. Evaluating information, so including misinformation, disinformation. Responsibility, engaging ethically with information, so including the kind of traditional citing and referencing, copyright there. Identity is a new element into our framework this time. So very interested to hear what Anne was saying there about the digital identity and well-being. We have no content. We're currently creating that. I'll mention that again in a minute. Organization. So that's really the kind of organizing information and data. So information, using referencing software, but also data literacy to our research team, research data management. Creation, again, a new addition this time. And that's about kind of leveraging, I suppose, those new facilities in the library, like our digital scholarship studio, to support, I suppose, experiential learning, and I suppose authentic assessment. And communication then is really the work of our research services team around dissemination, I suppose, of research outputs. So what we did is we created a suite of learning outcomes for each of these 7, and we mapped them then, that's the important part, to UCC's graduate attributes, the SDGs, the UN SDGs, and also the DigComp, the EU DigComp. The reason we did that is that our academic colleagues are required to indicate in their course programs how they're matching their program against those. We figured this would make it easier for them and more attractive for them. So it really is about that kind of partnership, but we're encouraging that partnership with our academic colleagues so that we can align our offerings to their programs, but also with students then to understand really what their requirements are, so that we know that we're hitting the target in terms of what we're doing. So it's a challenge to do that. So I suppose on the conceptual level, we've seen that, but on the practical level, we've included this as well in the framework. So these are 4 broad areas of service development that we've kind of focused on. So the targeted teaching at the top includes the embedded and sessions. We're trying to do that, like it's very fragmented. We're doing loads for some schools and colleges, nothing at all for others. So we're trying to do that more effectively and efficiently, better spread across the 4 colleges, and trying to bring more of the 7 elements of the framework into the programs in a more kind of cohesive way to reach more students, I suppose. Obviously, we're never going to reach students always, in face-to-face delivery. So the digital offering is really important. So developing our VLE Canvas content there. So we're kind of creating a new digital badge at the moment. Peer-to-peer learning has been really important. So we, as part of a wider project in the library with student partners, we tried an intern in our learning and teaching team last year, and it was really good. So we have had a student partner peer learning support within our team for the year. It's been incredibly enriching. It's helped us in terms of co-creating content with us, co-delivering. So the student has been co-delivering and delivering workshops, and just informing everything we do, going to our weekly team meetings, giving us advice on how we publicize our workshops and all of that. It's brilliant. The curriculum support then, I'd say, like, in terms of supporting our academic staff, teaching and curriculum, we've probably gone down a little bit in recent years there, I would say, in that, if your libraries are like ours, you go through different restructuring, staff changes, academic staff not quite sure who they're supposed to contact in the library. So we're trying to kind of bring that together a little bit better, have more cohesive supports for academic staff. I won't cover this slide, it's not very attractive, but like on the granular level, we've kind of put together a 3-year plan to try and really operationalize this. More than halfway through it, which is kind of worrying at the moment, but basically it's covering things like communicating the framework, embedding, reviewing the Canvas stuff, adopting the peer learning, developing those supports for academic staff, thinking too maybe about how we think about spaces in the library and what all this means for developing spaces with the idea of can the library become a kind of a center of excellence for information literacy. And underlying supporting all of this, we are gathering better data across the library teams in terms of what our teaching is, which will enable us now as well to map what we're doing against academic programs. So we know where we're not reaching people at all, and we can kind of target that. So discovery here, right? So this is the important part of the framework. So this is one of the 7 elements. There's an example of it here. You'll see there's an explanation. There is the mapping to the 3 things I mentioned. There's an academic, a personal, and employment scenario, and then a suite of suggested learning outcomes that our academic staff can look at and say, well, I can work with the library to take some of these and bring them into my program. So we have this for the 7 elements of the framework. And that's really what we're encouraging them to do, I suppose, to look at it and see, can I introduce this over the course of a program and do it maybe more incrementally, in a more scaffolded way, and drawing on more of the 7 elements of the framework. And also thinking about assessment. So obviously with Gen AI and the limitations maybe of the essay, are there things that we can do in the library now to support assessment with video, audio, design, and things like that? I was going to go through this, but I'm running out of time. So you'll see basically with the learning outcomes there, we're covering most of the kind of areas that we need to, including Gen AI. So we have our Gen AI session is included there in terms of prompting. So next steps, future directions. So we want to, we're finished actually pretty much bringing the framework to the university committees at the university level, at the college level, the teaching and learning committees. And we're kind of focusing our attention now really on the key schools that can help us, I suppose, to develop exemplars of best practice, exemplars that can illustrate what it is we're trying to do, showing how we can bring the different elements of the framework into a program so we can integrate more effectively. We need to kind of work more closely with our key partners in the university, including the Skills Center. The Skills Center it's like the academic writing center. They sit outside the library. They do some similar things. We need to bring them closer to what we're doing. And we have a number of collaborations at the moment to do that. The Center for Digital Education, so they support our academic staff in terms of digital education and things like the BLE. So we have a number of good collaborations there, and I have a slide just to illustrate that before I finish. So we did a pre-semester training program last August, September with them over 3 weeks for our academic colleagues. AI literacy, we're all grappling with it. We're probably a little bit kind of early adapters. We kind of created a workshop, which we've run past 2 years, run it 18 times, AI on Gen AI for information searching. We're at the point, I think, this summer where we need to review that now and move it on to the next stage. And I think we're going to be doubling down on the critical information literacy element of it, critical appraisal, critical thinking. And we are seeing demand, I don't know if you are, from our academic colleagues to include that now in our embedded sessions too. We need to kind of navigate that one. New areas then. So that missing element of our framework, the identity one, we got some SATL funding this year. So we have a PhD student in our School of Applied Psychology working with us to develop content for that at the moment, content from which we'll create some workshops. And then next year, some content, asynchronous content too, I hope. Peer learning support. So that's been great. We're finished a full academic year with the students' peer learning support within the team. But we just want to see what did we learn from that? And we want to kind of, I suppose, expand on that now next year. All of this, I suppose, with the overall goal really of reaching more students and staff, like with the right supports for them at the right time, which all sounds great, but like none of this happens overnight. There's no quick fix. You know, it's a process of continuous development here, sustained effort. But I would say that the big advantage of the framework for us is that it is helping us to unlock those conversations that we need to have with the people on campus that we need to be having them with, realize those goals, okay? And I suppose it does demonstrate like that as a library, we are taking digital information literacy, which includes AI literacy, seriously. And I suppose it's helping us as well to kind of navigate through that kind of complex information world and to try and make sense of it all. So that's where we're at with it at the moment. I just put that slide up there. I was talking about the pre-semester course we did with the Center for Digital Education. So you can see the ones in green here are the sessions that the library did. The ones in blue are the ones that our colleagues in Center for Digital Education did. There was another third week. So typically things like our reading lists, how we can integrate digital information literacy, creative digital skills that we can provide. Things like can't be it there now. Library supports for academic staff, just really showing them what the library can do. And we actually just did a general information literacy session for staff, similar to what we do with students. There's big demand for it, you know. So that was just an example there. Probably don't have time to talk about the Gen AI stuff, but that's included in there. So that's it, really. Thanks for listening.